message is for the strongest person nobody sees.
You cry alone at night. Not where anyone can see. Not where anyone can hear. You wait until the house is quiet. Until everyone's asleep. Until you're finally safe to fall apart. And then you let it out. The pain you carried all day. The smile you faked. The strength you performed. You bury your face in your pillow so nobody hears. You cry in the shower so the water hides the sound. You sit in your car, in the dark, and just break. And when you're done, you wipe your face, take a breath, put the mask back on, because tomorrow you have to do it all over again. Nobody knows, nobody sees. Nobody asks if you're really okay because you've gotten so good at lying. You cry alone because you've learned that showing pain makes you a burden, that asking for help makes you weak, that being vulnerable gets you hurt. So you handle it alone, in the dark, in silence. You've convinced yourself that strength, that suffering quietly is noble, that protecting others from your pain is love, but it's not strength, it's survival. And there's a difference. Strength is knowing when to break. Survival is never allowing yourself to. And you've been surviving for so long you forgot what it feels like to actually live. That's why the tears come at night, because during the day you're too busy surviving to feel. But at night, when the armor comes off and the performance ends, the truth catches up, and it drowns you. Why you can't cry in front of them. You want to know why you cry alone? Because you tried crying in front of people before, and they made you regret it. They told you to calm down, to stop being dramatic, to think about people who have it worse. They said you're too sensitive, too emotional, too much. So you learned. You learned to keep it inside, to smile through the pain, to save your tears for when nobody's looking. You learned that people don't actually want your truth. They want your performance. They want the version of you that's easy, that doesn't make them uncomfortable, that doesn't force them to actually care, so you give them that version, even though it's killing you. You show up at work with a smile even though you cried yourself to sleep. You laugh with friends even though you're breaking inside. You tell everyone you're fine even though you're drowning, and they believe you. Because they want to. Because caring about your real pain would require effort, time, emotional energy they don't want to spend, so they accept your lie. They take your fake smile at face value. They move on with their day while you carry the weight alone. And that's the loneliest feeling in the world. Not being alone, but being surrounded by people who can't see you're dying right in front of them. Being in a room full of friends and still feeling like you're on an island. Having people who say they love you but don't notice when you're falling apart. That's why you cry alone. Not because you want to, but because you have to. Because the alternative is crying in front of people who will make you feel worse for it. And you've already learned that lesson the hard way. What the tears are really about. Let's talk about what you're actually crying about. It's not just one thing. It never is. It's the weight of everything. The accumulation. The years of holding it together while everything inside you breaks. You're crying about the person who hurt you and never apologized. The friend who abandoned you when things got hard. The family that doesn't understand you. You're crying about the job that drains your soul. The relationship that makes you feel alone. The life that doesn't feel like yours. You're crying about the dreams you gave up. The person you used to be. The future you're afraid you'll never have. You're crying because you're tired. So tired. Tired of being strong. Tired of pretending. tired of carrying everyone else's problems while yours pile up in silence. You're crying because nobody sees how hard you're trying, how much you're struggling, how close you are to giving up. You're crying because you give and give and give and nobody gives back, because you show up for everyone and nobody shows up for you. You're crying because you feel invisible, unheard, unimportant. Like you could disappear tomorrow and the world would just keep spinning without a second thought. That's what the tears are about. Not weakness, not being overdramatic. Pain. Real unbearable soul-crushing pain that you've been carrying alone for too long. And every night it overflows. Every night it demands to be felt. Every night you can't hold it anymore. So you cry. Because crying is the only release you have. The only way to let some of the pressure out before it destroys you completely. But here's what you need to understand. Those tears aren't a sign that you're broken. They're a sign that you're still human. That despite everything you've been through, despite all the reasons you have to shut down and go numb, you still feel, and feeling even when it hurts is what keeps you alive. You think crying makes you weak. You've been told that your whole life, real strength is not crying. Tough people don't break down. Winners don't show emotion. So you internalize that. You made crying shameful. Something to hide. Something to be embarrassed about. But let me tell you something they'll never admit. Crying alone at night while still showing up the next day is the strongest thing you can do. You know what's easy? Numbing out. Shutting down, becoming cold and heartless. You know what's hard? Feeling everything and still choosing to keep going. You cry at night because you still care in a world that's trying to make you stop caring. You still feel in a world that rewards numbness. You still hope in a world that crushes hope daily. That's not weakness, that's courage. Weakness is pretending you're invincible. Strength is admitting you're breaking and fighting anyway. Weakness is never allowing yourself to feel. Strength is feeling it all, and not letting it destroy you. You are stronger than the people who never cry because they've given up. You are braver than the people who seem unbreakable because they've just gone numb. You still have a heart. And in this world, that's a revolutionary act. But here's the problem. You've been crying alone for so long that you think that's all you deserve. You think suffering in silence is your role, that nobody wants to hear about your pain, that you're supposed to handle everything yourself, and that's destroying you. Because humans weren't meant to carry pain alone. We weren't designed to suffer in isolation. We need connection, support, someone to witness our pain and say, I see you. But you've been denied that. Either because you never asked, or because when you did, they let you down. So you stopped asking. You stopped hoping. You accepted loneliness as the price of survival. And now you're so used to crying alone that the idea of crying with someone feels impossible. But it's not. And we'll get to that. The mask is suffocating you during the day. You wear a mask. The I'm fine mask. The I've got it together mask. The nothing can break me mask. And you wear it so well that even you start to believe it. You convince yourself that you're okay, that you can handle this, that you don't need anyone. But then night comes. And the mask comes off. And you remember the truth. You're not okay. You can't handle this. You desperately need someone. But it's too late. Everyone's asleep. Everyone's moved on with their lives. Everyone assumes you're fine because that's what you told them. So you cry alone. Again, like always. And the next morning you put the mask back on. You plaster on the smile. You tell everyone you slept great. And the cycle continues. But here's what you don't realize. The mask isn't protecting you anymore. It's suffocating you anymore. It's suffocating you anymore. Every day, you pretend takes more energy than the last. Every smile you fake drains you a little more. Every lie you tell about being fine makes you feel more disconnected from reality. You're performing a role 24/7 and it's exhausting. And the worst part is you can't stop. Because if you stop, if you let the mask slip, if you show people the real you, they might reject you. They might see how broken you are and decide you're too much work, too damaged, too hard to love. So you keep performing, keep pretending, keep dying inside, while smiling on the outside. And the only time you get to be real is at night, when nobody's watching. That's the tragedy. You're most yourself when you're alone, most honest when nobody can hear you, most vulnerable when there's nobody to witness it. You've built a life where your truth only exists in the dark, and that's no way to live. You know who should see you cry? The people who claim to love you, the people who say they're there for you, the people who benefit from your strength, but they don't see it. Because you don't show them. You protect them from your pain because you don't want to be a burden. You don't want to make things awkward. You don't want to lose them. So you suffer alone while they live in blissful ignorance. And maybe you've convinced yourself that's noble, that protecting them from your pain is a gift, but it's not. It's a disservice to them and to yourself. Because real relationships are built on truth. And if you can't be honest about your pain, then the relationship isn't real. It's a performance, a transaction, a lie. You're giving them the highlight reel and wondering why you feel disconnected. You're showing them the mask and wondering why nobody sees you. But how can they see you if you won't show them? I know what you're thinking. I tried. I opened up and they didn't care. They minimized it. They changed the subject. And you're right. Some people will. Some people are so uncomfortable with real emotion that they'll do anything to avoid it. They'll tell you to think positive. They'll compare your pain to someone else's. They'll make you feel like you're overreacting. Those people don't deserve your tears. They don't deserve your truth. But not everyone is like that. There are people in this world who will see your tears and not run, who will hear your pain and not minimize it, who will hold space for your suffering without trying to fix it. But you'll never find them if you never show your pain. You'll never know who's real if you never test them with your truth. So you have to take the risk. You have to be vulnerable. You have to let people see you cry. Not everyone. Not the people who've proven they can't handle it, but someone. At least one person, because crying alone is killing you, and you deserve better than that. You're ashamed of your tears. You see them as proof that you're not strong enough. Not together enough? Not good enough? You think if people knew how often you cry, they'd think less of you. That they'd see you as weak, pathetic, broken. So you hide it. You carry the shame on top of the pain. And that shame is heavier than the tears ever were. Because shame tells you that your pain is wrong. That feeling is failure. That being human is something to apologize for. And you've internalized that so deeply that you can't even cry without judging yourself. Even in your most private moments, even when nobody's watching, you're still performing, still trying to be strong, still fighting the tears even as they fall. You cry, and then you hate yourself for crying. You break down, and then you berate yourself for breaking. There's no relief, no release, just pain on top of shame, on top of exhaustion. And it's destroying you from the inside out. But here's what you need to hear. There is nothing shameful about crying, nothing weak about having emotions, nothing wrong with being human. You are not broken because you cry. You are not failing because you hurt. You are surviving something that would destroy most people. And your tears are proof that you're still fighting. Proof that you haven't given up. Proof that you still care enough to feel. That's not shame. That's honor. You should be proud that you still have the capacity to cry. Proud that the world hasn't made you cold. Proud that you're still soft in a world that rewards hardness, because the alternative to crying is numbness, and numbness is death. So stop apologizing for your tears. Stop hiding them like there's something to be ashamed of. Your tears are valid. Your pain is real, and you deserve to express it without judgment, even if that judgment is coming from yourself. Listen, you ever wonder why the tears always come at night? Why you can hold it together all day but fall apart the moment you're alone in the dark? It's because nighttime is when your defenses are down, when you're too tired to perform, when the adrenaline that got you through the day finally runs out. During the day, you're in survival mode, fight or flight. You don't have time to feel. You have to function. You have to go to work, take care of responsibilities, interact with people, maintain the illusion. So you push the pain down. You compartmentalize. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. And later is always nighttime. Nighttime is when the world goes quiet and you can't run from yourself anymore. When the distractions disappear and you're left alone with your thoughts. When the mask comes off and the performance ends and you finally have to face what you've been avoiding all day, and it hits you all at once. Every emotion you suppressed, every hurt you ignored, every moment you pretended to be okay. It crashes over you like a wave, and you have no choice but to let it. That's why you cry at night. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Because you can only hold it together for so long before your body demands release, before your soul says enough and forces you to feel. And there's something sacred about that, about the way your body refuses to let you ignore your pain forever, about the way your tears force you to be honest even when you don't want to be. Your nighttime tears are your body's way of keeping you alive, of preventing you from completely shutting down, of reminding you that you still feel, but the problem is, you're alone when it happens. The pain comes when nobody can witness it, when nobody can hold you, when nobody can tell you it's going to be okay. And that makes it so much harder. Because pain shared is pain divided, but pain alone is pain multiplied. You need someone there, not to fix it, not to stop the tears, just to sit with you, to see you, to remind you that you're not alone in this, but you don't have that. So you cry in the dark and hope tomorrow is different. The breaking point. You're approaching. Here's what you need to understand. You can't keep doing this forever. Crying alone every night while pretending to be fine every day is not sustainable. Eventually, something has to give, and it's either going to be your mental health or your current life. You're approaching a breaking point. You can feel it even if you don't want to admit it. The cracks are getting bigger. The tears are getting harder to stop. The mask is getting heavier. You're one bad day away from a complete breakdown. One more disappointment away from giving up completely. And you know it. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening to this. Because some part of you knows that you can't keep living like this. Something has to change, and that change has to start with you being honest, with yourself and with others. You have to stop hiding your pain. Stop pretending you're okay. Stop crying alone in the dark like it's your job. You have to start asking for help. Start showing people the real you. Start letting someone in. I know that's terrifying. I know every instinct you have is screaming at you to protect yourself. But protection has become prison. Safety has become isolation. Strength has become suffering. And you're dying in there. You're so busy protecting yourself from potential hurt that you're guaranteeing actual hurt. You're so afraid of being vulnerable that you've made yourself completely alone. And loneliness hurts more than rejection ever could. So you have a choice to make. And you need to make it soon. You can keep going like this until you completely break. Or you can choose to be vulnerable before it's too late. You can keep crying alone, or you can risk letting someone see you cry. You can keep hiding, or you can start healing. The path you're on leads to destruction. You know that. You can feel it. The question is, are you going to change course, or are you going to drive yourself off the cliff? Listen, what would happen if you stopped hiding? Imagine for a second, what would happen if you stopped hiding your tears? If you let someone see you break down? If you admitted you're not okay? What's the worst that could happen? They could judge you. They could leave. They could use it against you. All possible. All terrifying. But what if they didn't? What if they saw your tears and said, "Me too"? What if they held you while you cried? What if they stayed? What if vulnerability didn't destroy you but saved you? What if showing your pain didn't make you weak but connected you to someone real? You'll never know if you never try. And I get it. You've been hurt before. You've opened up and been burned. You showed someone your pain and they made you regret it. So you closed off. You built walls. You decided never again. But those walls aren't protecting you. They're imprisoning you. They're keeping out the bad, but they're also keeping out the good. They're preventing pain, but they're also preventing love, connection, real human intimacy. And without those things, you're just surviving. You're not living. Living requires vulnerability. It requires risk. It requires letting people see you even when it's scary. And yes, you might get hurt again. That's the risk. But you're already hurting. You're already alone. You're already breaking down every night. So what do you really have to lose? The pain you're trying to avoid by staying closed off is already happening. The loneliness you fear is already your reality. So why not take the risk? Why not try being vulnerable with someone who might actually care? At worst, you confirm what you already believe, that you're alone. At best, you discover you don't have to be. And that possibility, that chance, that hope is worth the risk. Because the alternative is spending the rest of your life crying alone. And you deserve better than that. The person who deserves your tears. Not everyone deserves to see you cry. That's important to understand. Your tears are sacred. Your pain is precious. And you don't owe it to anyone who hasn't earned the right to witness it. Some people will see your vulnerability as weakness. They'll use it against you. They'll lose respect for you. Those people don't deserve access to your pain. But there are others. People who will see your tears and honor them. Who will hold space for your suffering without trying to fix it. People who will say thank you for trusting me with this instead of stop crying. Those are the people who deserve your tears. And they exist. I promise you they exist. But you have to look for them. You have to test people. You have to be willing to share small pieces of your pain and see how they respond. If they minimize it, move on. If they change the subject, move on. If they make it about themselves, move on. But if they listen, if they sit with you, if they see your pain and don't run, then hold on to them. Because real people are rare. People who can handle your truth without flinching are precious. And when you find them, when you find that one person who can see you cry and not make you feel ashamed, then everything changes. Suddenly you're not alone anymore. Suddenly your pain has a witness. Suddenly your tears have purpose. Because shared pain is transformative. It creates connection. It builds trust. It reminds you that you're human, and so are they. And that connection is what you've been missing. That's what makes the nighttime tears so painful. Not the crying itself, but the loneliness. The feeling that nobody cares, that nobody sees, that you could disappear and it wouldn't matter. But when you find someone who can witness your pain, that feeling disappears. You matter. You're seen. You're not alone. And that changes everything. Listen, the final truth. If you cry alone at night, then this message is for you. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are human. And being human means feeling. And feeling means sometimes you cry. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing to be ashamed of. You have been through things that would break most people. And you're still here, still fighting, still showing up every day. That makes you a warrior, even if nobody sees it. But you can't keep doing this alone. You weren't meant to carry this pain by yourself. You need to let someone in. You need to show someone the real you. The one who cries, the one who hurts, the one who's barely holding on. Not everyone, just someone. Someone who will see your tears and not run. Someone who will hold space for your pain. Someone who will remind you that you're not alone in this. And if you don't have that person yet, then you need to find them. You need to take the risk. You need to be vulnerable, even though it's terrifying. Because the alternative is spending the rest of your life crying in the dark. And you deserve so much more than that. You deserve to be seen, to be heard, to be held while you fall apart. You deserve someone who will say your tears don't make you weak, they make you real. And until you find that person, until you let someone in, you're gonna keep crying alone. So this is your wake-up call, your permission slip, your intervention. Stop hiding your pain. Stop protecting everyone from your truth. Stop pretending you're fine when you're falling apart. Start being honest. Start being vulnerable. Start asking for what you need. And if people can't handle it, then they're not your people. But someone can. Someone will. You just have to be brave enough to let them see you. Tonight when the tears come, don't just cry alone. Reach out. Send a message. Call someone. Let someone know you're struggling. And if they respond with love, then you've found your person. And if they don't, then keep looking. Because they're out there, and you deserve to find them. Your tears are not a burden. They're a bridge. A bridge to real connection, to genuine intimacy, to being truly seen. So stop burning the bridge. Stop hiding the tears. Let someone cross over. Let someone in. Because you've been alone long enough. And the life that's waiting on the other side of vulnerability is worth every risk you have to take to get there. So take the risk. Be vulnerable. Let someone see you cry. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally strong enough to stop pretending. This is your moment, your choice, your chance to change everything. Don't waste it crying alone when you could be crying with someone who actually cares. You deserve better. You always have. Now go find it.
If you cry alone at night, you're not weak. You're just waiting for someone strong enough to witness your pain without running. Stop waiting. Start showing. Because the right person won't make you regret your tears. They'll honor them.